And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Saturday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thanks for being here. Welcome to you all, and hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you're enjoying yourselves, and thanks for staying up late and burning the midnight oil with me here on the Paranormal Portal. And as it's Saturday night, I am joined always by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard. Welcome to the show, Don.
Hola.
Hola.
Where's my... Oh, there I am. Hey.
I did that total Hollywood thing there. I announced you, and then I brought you on camera.
Thing is it hasn't caught up on my face.
Oh, it will.
It will. Oh, there it is. There I am. Hi. Nice to see everyone.
We're just having a you party right now.
Me,
so
it's all me. It's all me.
So welcome to the show, everybody, and hope you're having a great weekend again. And thanks for being here. Now we are, of course, broadcasting on TFRlive.com.
That's right.
And on iHeart and TuneIn, but we are also simulcasting on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, you will find us there. So you can see Don and I doing the magic that is the Paranormal Portal. And hopefully we do the magic well, because sometimes we don't. Sometimes we summon things in that we didn't mean to. This is the only paranormal show in existence that is actually periodically haunted. So
What can you do?
what can you do? I don't know.
Like, stop speaking those names.
Yeah, I've tried to cut down on that.
Yeah.
I've tried to cut down on things like that, but hey, good to see you guys in the YouTube chat room. Tanner, I see you there, brother. I'm glad you found us.
Yep, there's Ken.
Ken's in there. Good deal. And Aether Archives, how you doing? Oh, that's you, Don.
Oh, I'm doing good, thanks. The only one that can actually talk back.
Yeah, yeah, that's all right. That's a good deal. And I don't know, there are a few in the TFR Live chat room, right?
Yeah, there's one I haven't seen in there in a while. Not a Criminal 420's in there. Haven't seen him in a while.
Welcome back. It's good to see you all.
Absolutely.
And welcome to the show, everybody. And let's see how we're doing out there in the broadcast land. Yeah, it's about the same as last night.
Yeah, nice.
Just about 3,000 again tonight. So glad you guys are here. Got 942 coming to us from TFRlive.com. 1,818 of you listening from iHeart. The phone lines have got 156, and TuneIn has got 49 listeners. So thank you all for being here and being a part of the show. We are absolutely thrilled you're here. And again, if you are listening on iHeart or TuneIn or on TFRlive.com, you can see it go live on YouTube, youtube.com/Paranormal Portal once again. So putting it out there. Hope everything is great. I do want to take a moment quick. I mentioned it on last Saturday's show as well, but I just want to put it back out there, and a lot of you have responded, and it's been a real amazing response, and thank you guys so much for doing it. It certainly helps out one of our own. But if you aren't familiar with what's going on, Susan Lindauer is a TFR Live host, and she is having trouble with a very shady deal with a mortgage company that is desperately... it's just really shenanigans, and you got to read it to see it. But essentially, they're trying to basically almost force her out of her home, and it's not an issue where she's just been a deadbeat. It's just there's some real unethical practices going on with this company, and she's had to go to court, and it's been a real nightmare. But anyway, it looks like she's mostly got it sorted out, but she's got a GoFundMe going on to raise some capital so that she can help with some alterations to her home, to help it cash flow as well. And so if you can, go to GoFundMe.com, Saving Susan's House. Isn't that what it is? I think.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I know. I'm so bad at these kind of things anyway. But
that's why we have them on screen. We just need to pop them back up and refresh. So we'll be good there in a second.
But definitely go check it out if you can. It's great. If you can't, please don't. We're not trying to panhandle. We're not. I don't like doing this kind of thing at all. Asking for money from listeners and stuff, to me, just is real tough. But in this case, she's fighting the good fight. She's doing the right thing. She's done the right thing, and she's just met with all kinds of opposition. And if you're not familiar with who Susan is, she is a TFR Live host, but she's also a former CIA asset and a 9/11 whistleblower, and has a great show on the TFRlive.com as well, just getting right to the truth of things. So if you can support it, if you can help her out, that'd be awesome. If you can't, no worries. Just putting it out there. At least if you can't do anything financially, just send her some good vibes. Help her with this fight
Absolutely.
and help see her through this nightmare, because energy is just as important, and knowing that you have people in your corner is a really strong thing. So just putting it out there. But again, we are the Paranormal Portal. This is our Saturday evening show. This is live and unrehearsed, so what you're seeing is just as good as it's going to get.
Yeah,
So.
it may get more interesting, but this is as good as it gets.
That's right. So, and it is February 10th, and we are here, and we are also available if you like on Friday and Saturday shows. We can't do it on the Wednesday stream, but on Friday, Saturday shows, when we are broadcasting on TFR Live, we do have access to the TFR Live call board. So if you'd like to call in to the show and speak to us in person about some kind of paranormal event or some kind of ideas about the paranormal that you have, and please feel free to do so. And the call-in number is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. And feel free to pick it up. If you're calling from the UK, it's 44-203-393-2871. Again, 44-203-393-2871. TFR also has a toll-free number, and that is 833-TFR-LIVE, all one word. Or it works out to 833-837-5423. So feel free to reach out and get in touch with us if you feel so moved to do that.
Was that 5423?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
It was 5423.
Very
So
good.
833-837-5423.
There you go.
Well done, Mr. Longbeard.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have a personal assistant.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah. Says you check the whip marks out on my back here.
Yeah.
Get to it.
I tried telling you, but what do you want me to do?
How many times can I tell you? Well, I got 2 black eyes.
Yeah. Already told you twice. No. But thank you very much. But this is the show, and we are ready to go, and hope you're having fun just being here, being a part of it. Thanks again for being here. There was something I was going to say, and I was trying to grab it out of my mind, but it appears I've lost it, which wouldn't be the first time that happens. In fact, that happens all the damn time. I don't know. Maybe too much aluminum in my diet or something. I don't know. The old timers is kicking in, but
You're supposed to put that pit stick under your arm, not in your mouth.
Oh, geez, I was licking the damn thing. Thought it was a push pop.
That's
Thank you.
push pop.
I didn't much care for the flavor, though.
Paid way too much for that one.
I thought it was a really good deal on a big push pop. Never mind. This is free, ladies and gentlemen. You get what you pay for.
Next time, try the gel. It's easier to brush out.
Yeah, exactly. It falls right into that whole Tide Pod ridiculousness,
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Somebody's going to
Dude, somebody's got to do a meme. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, create a meme and tell the, say, hey, if you tried the Tide Pods, you should try the Push Pops.
and
use a deodorant.
Use a deodorant, yeah. A gel deodorant so it can be vaporized, too. Did you see those? Did you see the ones where they're vaporizing? They're putting their vapes and vaporizing it and then inhaling it? God.
This is just completely...
Wars. Here's your sign.
Exactly. I mean, at this point...
Ridiculous.
At this point, you know what? You deserve to be sucking the Reaper on this one, because if you're that stupid, that's just it. I can only enunciate that so big. But if you're so stupid to do something like that, then you're just going to be in trouble no matter what through the course of your life.
Yeah.
There's just no hope at this point. If you're gonna eat Tide Pods or smoke them or do whatever the hell you're doing, then you kind of get what you get.
1-800-4-DARWIN.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So anyway, I'm gonna wait for that meme to show up. I know that's gonna happen.
Somebody's gonna do something.
Somebody's gonna do the push pop. That was a Brent Thomas original. Thank you very much.
That's copywritten. Trademark.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't care. It's not. I just love good humor. So, what do you do? And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Paranormal Portal. And you'd never know it sometimes to listen to us, but this is a show about all things paranormal. So,
Wow. no doubt.
Tonight's show we're going to do paranormal encounters with the deceased, which, you know, if you have encounters with living people, it's certainly not as paranormal. So
Well, depends on who you're meeting.
that's true. Well, what?
What?
What do you mean if who you're meeting?
Depends on who you're meeting.
Oh, okay.
Because I got some people I know that are pretty not normal.
Well, yeah, if you're going to run into like a Bigfoot or something, that would still
Oh,
qualify
that'd be
as
cool. Yeah,
paranormal. But
Hey, how you doing?
how you doing there?
I suppose you won't let me take your picture, huh?
Did you ever try Tide Pods?
Selfie.
Oh God. I don't know. Maybe a Bigfoot would do it. I'm just throwing it out there.
You know, just bring Jack Links with you.
Yeah. Well, it apparently works. That's what they say anyway, unless they're just not being honest. So anyway, we're gonna do some paranormal encounters with the deceased. And the first one I want to bring to you tonight is it goes it's called Jake's Bell. Bing. Okay, that first sentence was awkward, but I've got it now, I think. Friend's grandmother was out of town and asked us to check on her dog. Real friendly German Shepherd dog, jumping with excitement at the door when you showed up, kind of pup. We went over and to our surprise found no dog waiting at the door. A little weird, but we thought nothing of it and went inside to find him. Got into the house and heard nothing. Start calling for the dog, Jake, and are answered with footsteps running down the stairs. We call out, assuming some other family member was there, but get no response. Start to freak out a little. We call his mom, and she assures us no one is home and we're being ridiculous. More footsteps, but this time running up the stairs. I suggest police. The house is being robbed. But friend convinces me we should check it out to be sure. Which is funny because, well, let's check it out before we call the people that are supposed to deal with this. Make our way to the stairs and hear a bell chime. Buddy tells me the dog occasionally wears a bell, and that is probably Jake. Get to the door, which leads to the stairs. See, there's a small bell around the handle. Oh. My friend is terrified. So am I. But trying to play it cool, I lead us up the stairs. At the top, we see Jake lying in a chair, shaking and obviously terrified. We couldn't get him to move no matter what we did. He just kept staring down the stairs. We searched the entire house after and found nothing and no one. Only time in my life I have been genuinely afraid I was dealing with something paranormal. Friend's grandmother assures us to the day it was her husband and that she still hears him walking around talking from time to time. Well, that's terrible.
So what's the connection with the caller with the bell on the doorknob?
It should have been on the dog.
Was it on the dog when they found the dog?
No, it was around the doorknob, and the dog was upstairs and just huddling in the chair, absolutely terrified. So very, very, for an animal to be that terrified, it's going to be pretty bad.
No doubt.
I mean, animals usually go into protection mode, but this sounds like a younger dog anyway. So perhaps he's still too much puppy, but yeah, that's tough. This one is called Loud Voices and Bacon.
Nice.
Because everything is better with bacon, ladies and gentlemen. At a friend's house for a sleepover one night, their house was in early 1900s. Her brothers always said they saw an older woman in the basement. I just assumed they were being dicks. It says. One night I woke up to loud talking and could hear everyone in the kitchen. I looked over to where my friend was sleeping and she wasn't in her bed. Assuming she had gone downstairs for breakfast, didn't realize at the time she was actually in the bathroom. As I walked down the stairs, the voices got louder, just general chit-chat, and I could smell bacon, eggs cooking, could hear the bacon sizzle, but as soon as I touched the bottom step, all the sounds disappeared. No smell. I walked into the kitchen, all the lights were off. Stove was cool, nowhere to be found. I went back upstairs to find my friend. As I walked up the steps, she was coming out of the bathroom. I told her what had happened, and she told me I was dreaming. The next morning, I was up before her, so I know she never mentioned it to her older brother, but he scolded us for being so loud in the kitchen so early in the morning. That house just gives me the creeps. They moved. Whoever it was moved with them also. Their new house still gives me the creeps, and multiple people have seen the older lady in various parts of the house. Even new friends who haven't heard about her before can describe what she looks like. I will wager that while it could be attached to the people, I'll bet you anything they brought something from that house with them that that has the energy attachment to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've talked many times on the show about that. It's like, you know, if you're an antiquer, be very careful because
Find someone else's problem.
yeah, you might be getting a hell of a deal for a reason. While it looks like a nice old hutch, you know, you might not want the Grim Reaper that comes with it. You know? So be careful when you're buying antiques because, of course, they can get energy imprints just like anything else.
Right.
And so when you bring things into your house, in fact, that's, if you ever suddenly have a haunting, the first thing you should ask yourself is, have I brought anything into the house?
Yeah, definitely.
And if you have, take it out of the house. And does the haunting then cease?
Burn it, then bury it.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, exactly. Because, it's possible to cleanse objects too. It's more difficult depending on how, strong the attachment is with it and such. But there are rituals for cleansing items as well, and it can be done, or at least bound. They can at least be bound.
Bind it to the object, so it can't be
right.
Like,
so it can't
genie
be
in a bottle.
Right, exactly. So at the very least, you can bind it so that it's not wandering around your house. And,
That'd be good.
Yeah,
I'd prefer
that. At the best, you can actually release the attachment and get the energy to move on.
Nice.
So anyway, but there are plenty of people who know a whole lot more about that than I do. So, All right, the old man and the girl lived in a house with a bunch of friends. We always said the house was haunted. Just so many eerie experiences. We all agreed one spirit was of a young, playful girl, and the other one was of an angry old man. There was a shed in the backyard that had locks on the inside. We always imagined what bad happened in there. Yeah. Anyway, me and one friend are sitting outside on the porch steps, both quiet. Everyone else is downstairs. I heard a very old-sounding from behind my shoulder where the wall of the house is.
Nice.
I didn't want to say anything because crazy, they say. But out of my peripheral vision, I see my friend glance over his shoulder. So I go, "You heard that too?" And he said, "An old man going, heh." And I concurred, and we both noped down to the basement where everyone still was.
We noped our way out.
Yeah, we noped out of there. Gotta love those colloquialisms, huh?
Yes. That's actually one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yep. All right, down your spine. Because, it's down, period, your, period, spine, period.
Down your spine. Did that work at all?
That was kind of soothing but weird. I don't know what to say there, Don. I'm a little uncomfortable. No, you got that deep radio voice cooking.
Got the is it a little art bellish? Nobody can do that. Nope, sorry. I wish I could.
Yeah. The most terrifying paranormal experience I had would have to be the experiences I had in my grandma's guest room. When I was young, I remember staying in that room, and every time I would wake up in the middle of the night to the sensation of someone or something running their fingers up my spine.
Oh.
Ew. I would be fully awake, but too petrified to move. This happened every time I stayed in that room. When I was in middle school, my parents ended up moving into my grandma's house, and guess what? My sister and I would share the old guest room. I thought things would be different, but every so often I would wake up and experience that sensation again. At one point, I even shot up and looked around the room, only to find nothing in sight.
Wow.
I'd lay down again and try to sleep, but there it was again, the feeling of someone running their fingers up and down my spine. It got to the point where I was just laying in bed trying to sleep, and it would just happen. You'd think something like this wouldn't be scary, but something about that feeling made me feel terrified. As if I was getting touched inappropriately by some stranger. Yeah, I imagine that's exactly what getting touched inappropriately would feel like. There was nothing I really could do to make it stop. I could lay there and wait until it was done. We ended up moving out of my grandma's house for a while when I entered high school and moved back around my sophomore year of college. I'm happy to say that I don't experience that anymore in the room.
Jeez.
Well,
so what kind of a haunting is that?
I don't. Well, it would seem to be intelligent, right? Because it's interacting with the person.
That's
But
true.
what the hell is it doing? I don't know. I mean, is it a loving gesture, like, oh, you're so sweet, so glad you're here, or is it, I would like to rub you in butter? I don't know. That's when it gets creepy. Is you don't know what the hell they're
That's
thinking.
true. That's true.
So it's intelligent because it's an actual physical interaction, but is it creepy or loving? I don't know.
Sorry, unless I know exactly who it is, it's creepy. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, there you have it. I don't know. This one's called The Smudge. When camping with a friend in an isolated southern forest, we left a little too late and realized we wouldn't make our designated campsite, so we decided to camp under an overhang of rock that would be sufficient to keep us out of the rain. We started a fire, cooked chicken, talked, and we went to sleep fairly early. I've always been a night owl, and I was sort of just chilling there on my side when I realized I was putting a lot of pressure on my phone. I lean up to get it out of my pocket and see it. It's a smudge, a gray film hanging in the air. My first instinct is it's the moon reflecting light off the aluminum foil onto the rock ceiling. I look for the aluminum foil and can't see it. I look for the moon. It's raining, no moon. That's the moment I realized I had no idea what I was looking at. That's the only time I've ever actually felt terror in my life. I immediately scrambled back and yelled for my friend to wake up, and the smudge hesitated, then accelerated away and dissipated as if it was never there. It was frightening, not because of how it looked, but more so that I didn't have a damn clue what it was. We thought maybe some folks were screwing with us with flashlights, but no one was around, and it honestly wasn't bright enough to be a flashlight. It was just slightly brighter than the dark wall behind it. I'm a scientist, and while I have an open mind, I'm also pretty skeptical, but I honestly believe I saw something. No idea what it was. Damn interesting, though.
Air rods?
Huh? I'm sorry?
Air rods? Skyfish?
No. I mean, it was more nebulous. It sounds like a kind of a cloudy thing that they saw. I could only, that's what I got out of it. If it looked like light reflecting off a tinfoil, then it would have that kind of patterned, I don't know, wispy look to it.
Why do they have my hat?
What?
My tinfoil hat.
Oh,
Gracious.
it works good for potatoes.
Yes, it does. Especially on a campfire.
Or a grill.
Let's not go to recipes now. I'm trying to keep that out of there.
Yeah, all right.
When you said butter, I thought about a good rub, dry rub.
Oh.
All right.
The Lone Survivor. A couple of years ago, wait, how much time we got? 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Yeah, I can make it through this. A couple of years ago, I'm with my ex on vacation in another country. One night, I had the weirdest dream. I'm with my coworkers, and it's in the middle of the night, and all of us see a plane crash far away on the horizon. We all panic, and I'm suddenly teleported to my own apartment, waiting for the elevator when my ex when it arrives, and out comes the happiest kid I've ever seen, smiling and jumping around like kids do. I turn to my ex and say, "Wonder what she was so happy about." Then I wake up. My gut says something is wrong. I instantly remember the plane, thinking, what the hell was this about? Am I safe to fly home after this? My grandmother is the one of those that always has an explanation for your dreams. After about 5 phone calls, I finally get in touch with her. She calms me down and says, "Don't worry if you weren't on the plane." I start to relax, but can't stop thinking about it. Excuse me. Day goes on as usual. We head back and forth to the beach. Later, when we're getting ready, before going out for dinner, we take turns to shower, and I'm sitting on the bed watching local Turkish news. There it was. Plane crash in Africa, and 1 kid survived.
Wow.
I froze. That's very wild. And that's the way that dreams often work, right? So they tend to be more symbolic or imply, but there's not many premonitory dreams that are just like, and I saw this and this happened.
Right, yeah.
It's always symbolic, but that was pretty straightforward though. They saw a plane crash, and then he's suddenly waiting for an elevator, and this kid comes out jumping around happy. But there you go. Very strange, but ladies and gentlemen, we are just about a minute out of break here.
Wow. Okay.
It goes fast. It goes fast.
It is a portal.
It is a portal, ladies and gentlemen, and time changes all meaning here in the portal. But make sure that you are find us on Facebook too, please. I have heard from listeners that have subscribed to us on YouTube, and apparently they're not getting the notifications, even though they clicked on the bell. So you might want to check that to make sure, if you are trying to get notified when we're going to do a live stream, that you make sure that that bell is clicked or re-click it. I don't know what's going on YouTube, but there's some flaky things that happen there. So I just know I heard about it. So I thought I'd let you guys know, if you are a subscriber of ours on YouTube and want to be notified when the shows are on. Make sure that bell is clicked. And even if you know you did it, recheck it, because 2 listeners today told me that they had clicked it and it's now unchecked. So just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to be heading to break here. So don't go away. We will be right back for more of the Paranormal Portal. We can't afford real effects here in the studio, but I've got Don. Waiting for the music. It already says muted.
Hey,
Oh.
we know you're out there.
Well, there you go.
We see you listening to our shows. And we know you want to be part of it. You have a business and you want brand recognition.
We are TFR Frequency Radio.
It's a perfect time to unmute your mic, Don, when you're clearing your throat. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Paranormal Portal, and I am Brent Thomas. And, of course, I am joined this fine Saturday evening by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Hola.
Hola. Made it through the break. We're good. Yeah, the numbers are about the same. Yeah. So just noticed a real big influx of people into the TFR Live chat room. So glad to see you guys. Wow. That is quite a few, huh?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, like I said, there was like 5 when the show started.
Standing room only, ladies and gentlemen. Standing room only.
And shout out to all of our regulars.
All
We
our
love seeing you.
regulars, but not regla.
Yeah, no regular yet.
Not yet. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Portal. We are going through a night of fun and paranormal hijinks as usual. And we got some good stories that we're going through, and I think they're really interesting. I like these stories. I would like to say a special thank you again to Tanner and Taz for having submitted stories for last night's episode. If you want to hear them, you can certainly either go to the archives on tfrlive.com or check out the stream on our YouTube page, youtube.com/paranormalportal, and check out last night's Doppelganger episode. Very cool. But very cool stories as well. So thanks, guys, for doing that. I always love when you guys send me stories. It's just the greatest. I get this happy light inside. It's an emotional thing.
Oh, no.
It's true. I do. But
Please don't make the Brentster cry.
No, I'm not really much. Well, no, that's not true. You know what? I never used to be a crier at all. I don't know what happened, but I've like
Turned you into a big old softy.
like I can nearly start weeping in diaper commercials. Like it's like what? I get in touch with my inner. I don't want to slam females because
It's your inner femininity.
Well, I guess so. I'm just really in touch with those emotions now. It's like I don't know. The only other time in my past that I experienced something similar to that was when I was watching the movie Mulan in the movie theater. Mulan.
Okay.
I cried like a baby in that.
Why?
Because she took that for her dad. She's like, she loved her father so much.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And it's just like tears going down.
Is there a Kleenex over there?
No, I'm good now. I'm not
Okay.
crying, but it was just one of those times where, and it surprised me. I was like, wow, why am I all misty over this? But it was, just one of those beautiful moments. And I've noticed that as I get older, those things happen more often.
Right.
It's like, oh, that was beautiful. And you start getting misty and the lump in your throat. So, I don't know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I'm just more emotionally honest than ever. I'm not sure, but
That's maturity.
yeah, I guess it is.
It's-
Or, at least, I never like tried to jam my emotions away because I was ever threatened by them. So it wasn't like I just suddenly came to be like, it's okay if I hurt now. I'm okay with it. It really never was a conscious thing. It was just suddenly, I don't know, emotionally, I just get moved so much easier. And not that you all wanted to know that, but, I got the microphone and you just never know what I'm going to put into it. So that's all I can say.
There's the truth.
There's the truth. So, a little bit more about me. That means I have a soul. Thank you, Pixie. That's good.
Oh, gosh.
I do have a soul.
Somebody just had to say it.
Thank you, Pixie. Love you bunches. Love you, mean it. All right. So, moving on here. All right. What do we got going on? Okay. The next one that I want to read to you guys is called Projector 5. I worked at a movie theater for a few years in high school. Throughout my time there, I was always told of the ghost named, it says names, but named Fred, who haunted Screen 5. There was always weird things happening in that theater. Screen randomly flickering despite changing projectors, colder in there than anywhere else. Stuff like that. The doors... Am I hearing downstairs? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. The doors to the building would randomly open and close sometimes too. The story behind Fred was that he was an old custodian who worked cleaning the theater overnight. He was a very religious man and kept a rosary with him. He died of a heart attack, and somehow his rosary ended up hanging next to Projector 5.
Huh.
A few years later, after the theater was remodeled, one of the managers took the rosary as a joke. Oh, that's not good. On the way home, he crashed his car, rolling down a ditch, leaving him with some moderate injuries.
Wow.
The next day, the rosary was back, hanging by the projector with no one knowing how it got there. Oh, wow.
I'll tell you
Strange
how.
stuff. The guy got his wheelchair and went, "I'm put this back."
Or Fred just went and got it, and after pushing him off the road, he just
Yeah.
went and got it off the mirror that the dude hung it off.
That ain't yours.
Hey, that's mine, dang it, you stupid kids.
That's right.
Come get my stuff, dang it.
Roommates share nightmares.
Oh, boy.
When I lived off campus with two friends, and our apartment had multiple weird occasions. First, I noticed that my closet door would always be open. I always closed my closet before going to bed because I had way too many nightmares as a child, so I knew for a fact I would close it. My roommate told me she would have a recurrence of the same dream most nights. It was of a man that she said she had never met, and he would be choking her in her room. Ooh. And she would wake up gasping for air. That's horrible. This is about the only time I ever had sleep paralysis. I never had it in my life, and after graduating, I haven't had it since. I know some say sleep paralysis is linked with the paranormal. So one time I came home, and no one was at the apartment, so I decided to take a quick 20-minute nap before my next class. I heard knocking on the door and assumed it was my roommate since we both had the same class together. We always carpooled. I told her to come in, but she wouldn't, and just continued to knock. I got annoyed and got up to open the door quickly, and no one was there. I yelled her name, but no one was in the apartment. Then, I kid you not, the microwave turned on, and it freaked me the hell out. I grabbed my bag and went to class early. Then, the lease was up. We were talking to the owners. They told us apparently the apartment building used to be an old movie theater that burned down, and we weren't the first that had weird occurrences.
Was that
Fred's?
Fred's?
No, I
Theater 5?
think I think Theater 5's still in operation from what I gathered there. But yeah, something about movie theaters, ladies and gentlemen, not too good. The next one is dodgeball.
Wow, there you go.
Well, one time I was with my mom and we were visiting one of her friends. I was 8 at the time. I was playing with some toys while my mom and her friend were talking, and a rubber ball, think the kind that used to have a gym class for dodgeball, rolls down the stairs, stopping on the bottom stair, as in one up from the floor. All three of us stop and look at it for a moment, and my mom, being being the weirdo she is, says, "Okay, but can you throw it?" The ball goes flying across the room and breaks a window. We got the hell out of that house very fast. Yeah, I don't think taunting is ever a good idea.
Yeah.
Never really a great idea.
Great, buddy. You can roll it down some stairs, but you can't. Can you do anything else?
That's the kind of stupid thing that I could see myself saying.
Yeah, let's just challenge them. Let's just openly challenge them. Yeah, good idea, buddy.
I mean, really, I was reading that going, God, it's something I would say. Note to self, don't say that. No, I've never seen that, but if I saw a ball rolling down the stairs and stopping on the final step, yeah, I would be pretty sure that it was that was a deal changer, and it would be not good to taunt it.
What was the name of the kid in The Shining?
I don't know.
Was it Tommy or Peter?
I don't think I've ever known. I've only kind
Tommy's
of watched
not
that movie
here,
once.
Mrs. Peterson.
I don't know.
But the ball was rolling down I think that was more like a bocce ball or a croquet ball, but it was like thunk, thunk, thunk.
Oh, that would be creepy. That would be creepy. I mean, that takes that you just imagine the power that would take.
Yeah.
So it's not like a physical body where you just kind of reach down and stop it, but it's the energy to stop that kind of momentum on a final stair like that. Mm-hmm. It's got to be pretty profound. But unexplained scratches is next, ladies and gentlemen. I went to St. Augustine, Florida, on vacation years ago with friends. We went on a haunted places tour, and one stop was the old Spanish War Hospital. I stood between two of the beds in one of the recovery rooms while the tour guide was speaking. When we got outside, my friend panicked, pointing at my ankles. They were covered in brand new bleeding gashes and scrapes.
Huh.
I was about a foot away from either bed and haven't brushed against anything or touched my legs in any way. The tour guide gave me some spray and Band-Aids and told me I wasn't the first person this had happened to. The scratches didn't hurt at all, and I know they weren't bug bites because they were about an inch long and wrapped from the front of my leg around toward my Achilles tendon. Wow. They're almost exactly uniform. I know I didn't do it because My fingernails were too short from nail biting habit and lack of blood on my hands. It was bizarre. I'm sure there's some explanation, but I don't know what. Really, I'd love to hear what that explanation is then. It's like it's the veracity
Right.
of people to just hang on to that three-dimensional life they know. And something like that happens, and it clearly takes them all the way out of their paradigm. But then they just know it has to be rational somehow, but they don't know how it's rational. Rather than saying, something happened and I just can't explain it, that's spooky, and it just makes me think there's more.
No doubt.
They hang on to these weird things. When I was on Chris Everhart's show, we were talking about orbs, and Chris said to me, so what do you think of some scientists explaining that this phenomenon is just a form of ball lightning?
Ball lightning.
And I just started howling. I just started laughing, and he started laughing. I said, it's the absurdity of people to put mundane explanations on the paranormal just defies my brain. I just I can't understand it. And ball lightning. So, ladies and gentlemen, ball lightning is apparently a meteorological phenomenon, but a meteorological phenomenon that they don't have any explanation for. But they do classify it as a meteorological phenomenon. And it's they don't know why it happens. They don't know how it happens. They don't know what causes it to happen, but they just know it's a meteorological phenomenon. So,
great explanation.
what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Is that an explanation at all?
No, it's just paranormal.
Yeah, exactly. It's just paranormal. I mean, I really don't believe there's ball lightning. Honest to God, I don't. And I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not a scientist. But when you give me a scientific explanation for a phenomenon that you can't even explain, but it's a scientific explanation, it no longer is scientific because you can't quantify it.
Right.
You can't give it a tested, measure, repeatable kind of thing.
Right.
Are they balls of plasma that somehow ignite? Are they, what? Yeah, there's plenty of theories, but there's no concrete,
No hard evidence.
Right.
Right. Empirical evidence.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, it's a scientific phenomenon that they give to explain what would otherwise be paranormal. And so why not just say it's a paranormal phenomenon at that point? Because you have a scientific explanation that you can't explain. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just that bizarre mentality behind that kind of stuff.
One of our listeners said, "Yeah, I have witnessed people totally ignore the paranormal when it's right in front of them, right in front of their face."
Yeah.
Well, I got to say to that though, I'm the kind of guy that needs to have that proof. I got to have that, I mean, prove it to me,
Mm-hmm.
Show me.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go.
Who's talking about in the chat?
I don't know. I don't know.
I see my name is in there with a question mark, but I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about, who, so if you can repeat the question, I'll try to pay attention.
I missed it too. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay, if you figure it out, let me know.
Okay.
All right, a shocking message is next. I was talking to my friend on a laptop who was really scary, who was in a really scary situation. Excuse me, sorry. With their mother who had flipped out at them and threatened to call the police on them. Nice. I was trying to console this friend and reassure them that if the police showed up, then the police would probably take the side of the friend who had literally done nothing wrong. For context, this mother was a manipulative person who would often make up lies about her kids so that she could be in the right.
Man.
Wow. And then my laptop suddenly glitched out, and suddenly my text box filled with multiple iterations of this exact quote. They won't help you.
Oh.
Ooh, that's all kinds of creepy. Just literally, they won't help you. That just repeated over and over, something like 20 times. I went sheet white, checked my paste box. No, there was nothing like that in there. Scrolled up through the chat log. Nothing like in there like that either. It was just a phantom string of text. And I have no idea where it came from. It never happened again either. I never told the friend about it, the particular incident. Some things are just kinder just not to say.
No doubt.
Good call on that one. I would say that's a great idea.
Just shut up and let it go.
Yeah, don't. Obviously, they're already in an emotional place. So, anyway, excuse me. I'm a little froggy, ladies and gentlemen. Ribbit. I knew you were going to do that. That's why I did it. I knew you were going to go with the ribbit. I don't know. I've always heard that as called froggy. So.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Hey, Josie. Josie Flores just made it into the chat. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, checking out the show. And just wanted to acknowledge that. Don, you want to go through the chat board and TFR?
Sure.
Just give shout-outs to people?
Yeah, my shout-outs, yes. Hey. Well, let's go with this. We got Not a Criminal 420. Nice to see you again, buddy. Adrian Z. Armand. Dorito 56. There's Galactic Pixie, of course. Illuminati. Got Comet Man. How you doing, buddy? Hey, there's Jimmy. Don't forget, join Jimmy after our show with Into the Microcosm. Directly after our show. Then we got Undaunted. Hi, Don. Who said they could? Do you want to know? Heavenly, Honeytropic, and Invisible. That's sometimes I wish I was. And then MK Naomi. So that's the TFR chat room for you. Thanks for listening. Woohoo!
Glad you're here. And I think that's Andrea NZ.
Is it? My apologies.
Andrea NZ. And I'm not sure if that's New Zealand or what. But
oh, now you say that. I feel like, oh, gosh, now I feel really foolish. Sorry.
It's all right. I just want to give everybody a shout out. I really appreciate you guys being here. And so I just want to acknowledge your presence because you make the show great. So the house that left a mark. My family and I just moved into a new house, and I began getting these reoccurring dreams where I would enter into a dark square room with only one door at the other side, nothing else. I could always feel this dark presence behind me, but I was always too scared to look. I usually woke up just before I entered through the first door, but there was one night where it was different. That night, I stayed in my dream long enough to enter through the first door. Nothing happened. I looked around the second room, and it looked exactly like the first. There was nothing around except for a door at the other side of the room. I could feel the dark presence following closely behind me as I made my way to the door. As I entered the third room, I noticed that there was no door at the other side. I quickly turned around to try and run back to where I came from, but the door slammed shut. Suddenly, I feel several sharp stabs piercing through my back. I woke up drenched in my own sweat. Ooh, that is creepy. As it was summertime during that period, I had these reoccurring dreams. I went out to the pool a lot with some other neighborhood friends. Shortly after I had that dream, I went swimming again with said friends, and they pointed out a huge cluster of marks on my back. I went home and did the two-mirror thing to view my own back, and sure enough, there it was. This was nearly 15 years ago, and the marks have faded quite a bit, but still visible. I have other stories about living in that house too, but this was by far the scariest to me since there was actually a mark left on me.
Yeah, no doubt.
And what a mark too, if it lasted for, over a decade.
Wow, yeah. Well, is it a mark or was it more of a scar at that point?
Well, I don't think it ever drew blood, but I think it was just whatever jabbed left like a discoloration of skin.
Right. Yeah.
So is that a psychic wound? Is that what that would be?
Ooh.
And that's how you see it as the manifestation.
But gosh, I'm going to have to figure a frame to that question.
Okay.
So let me think on that. What? Never mind.
Well, they have it.
Crazy.
But that is crazy. And there are, I don't know how far into this I'm going to get, but there are some, I don't want to say even esoteric, it's more occult, but not the good occult, the bad occult that give instruction on using psychic weaponry. In other words, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but essentially you project a psychic, weapon at somebody. And that sounds very similar to what that person experienced.
Wow.
But apparently there's some spirits that know about it too.
Well, obviously more powerful than, say, a voodoo doll type situation.
Or not. Maybe that's, it's the same kind of thing. It's just a different modality of causing damage to somebody.
Different visualization, different manifestation.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, energy follows intention, right? So you follow, you project your will to do something, and on some level it does do these things. And so that's just the alternative explanation that maybe it was a psychic kind of wound. And was it a person doing this and pushing this, or was it a paranormal creature? I don't know. That's something that I clearly can't answer. But yeah, the fact that they had a discolored mark or series of them for years is very, very powerful. Home Alone is the next one, very short one. Hearing a baby cry and a man saying, "Help me," in a distressed voice when I was home alone. Happened within 5 seconds of each other, but nobody believes me. And I don't blame them, but it's what I heard, and it freaked me the hell out. Yeah, that's... I get
rightfully
that.
so.
And rightfully so, exactly. Yeah, that's enough to creep anybody out for sure. Huh. Very weird. All right. Now this is called the Old Hag. And the Old Hag, ladies and gentlemen, is generally considered the phenomenon that accompanies sleep paralysis. That some people have these visions of an old hag sucking the life out of them. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I don't know. Oh, yeah, it is like a curse, Ken. Yeah, thank you. That's a great way of saying that. Right. It could be a curse projection. You're right. And the person
right.
experiences it in the dream state.
Right.
That's a very good point. But very similar. Very similar. All right. The Old Hag. As a young teenager, I had a really scary nightmare in the middle of the night where I was sitting on my parents' bed and looking in their mirror. And in the mirror, I saw a woman sitting behind me with dead-looking eyes and a long black stringy hair covering her face. In the dream, I turned around and no one was there. When I turned back around to the mirror, she was even closer. Oh, no.
Nice.
That's terrible. Oh, this was probably around 1999 or so, and at that point, I hadn't seen a lot of scary movies that used that effect, so it scared the absolute crap out of me. I woke up from the nightmare, and my bed started shaking violently. I had a day bed with a metal frame, and it felt like a fully grown adult was standing at the end of the bed, shaking it back and forth with all of their might. It went on for several minutes, and I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't even make any noise. It stopped suddenly, and I still couldn't make myself move for a few minutes after that. I finally managed to jump out of bed and run to my parents' room and wake them up to tell them what had just happened. Of course, they came up with all sorts of alternative theories. You were just dreaming, you were shaking the bed yourself and didn't realize it. Oh, God. And they didn't believe me. It was, and still is, so very clearly and solidly real to me, and I have no idea what it was.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
You know, I've woke up before and someone was pulling my hair and
Really?
like thrashing my head back and forth. And then I realized for some reason my hand reached up, grabbed my hair. And no, I'm not kidding. It's happened a couple times. My hand just it spasms. I'll be like laying on it and then it's like, hey, get off me. I don't know how it happens. Alien hand syndrome. No, I'm serious. So that's happened.
It's old Dead Hand Longbeard.
Dead hand. That brings up that movie, The Hand. From
Dead Hand Longbeard.
Dead
Longbeard's dead hand. He sleeps on it until it's dead. It exacts a revenge.
It was creepy.
That is creepy.
to me.
The
I
fact
was
that
like,
you're
oh my
yanking your
God.
own head.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, it was like, I was
Wow.
like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I'm kind of having an oh Jesus moment just hearing it, to be honest with you. I'm trying to put this together in my head as we speak. That's so strange. Only you, Don.
I
only
know.
Only you could have that problem.
I know.
Oh my God.
Well, I firmly believe that, like, if your foot goes numb, it's because your foot's not getting enough blood. It's and that's what that pain is. It's to inspire you to move it into a more comfortable position to get blood through.
Sure.
So why can't my hand be like all numb and stuff, and now it's starting to go. There's no pain. It just wakes you up. It's like, hey, dummy.
Hey, get off of me, you dork. I'm just kidding. So it jerks your head around like, come on.
Weirdest stuff.
It's Don's ghost hand.
Great. I'm making who said they could wake up her husband again. She's the one that's always laughing at us and waking up her family.
Oh, nice. They're gonna ground her from the paranormal portal.
She's gonna have to do it behind their backs. I've got to go watch my paranormal portal.
Yeah, you should be. That's a good point. Ken brought up a good point. It's grabbing
Revenge in Don's basement.
It could be. Could be some of the 1,000 corpses that ended up on Don's grill, exacting their revenge.
Yeah, but those are like mostly in bite marks.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Wow.
A lot of pigs in my basement. Running around without ribs.
Ooh. The 200-year-old home. I'm just going to move on.
Keep going.
I'm just going to keep going here. Growing up, I would live with my mother during the school year and live with my dad during the summer. Oh, and you know what? We're going to go to break. I'm sorry. We'll get to this after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away, and we'll learn more about Don's haunted hand and his nightly terrors. Don't go away.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for
play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
This looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. I'm still your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm thrilled you're here to be a part of it. So, hope you're having a good night. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope we're doing okay. Saturdays are always a lot of fun, but you know, with a subject matter like this, we try to have fun with it because, I mean, the paranormal is such a dark and spooky thing.
Yep.
And I don't know, you know, why not just have a few laughs and, you know, make it a good mood anyway. Have a good time with it as much as you can. But I certainly don't ever mean to mock anybody or anything.
Just me.
Just you. Yeah, you know, it's not even that. But, you know, it is what it is. We are surfing the paranormal, and,
Yep.
you know, we can't claim to be in control of the portal, but we just try to navigate through it.
Surf through it.
Yeah. And so far, so good tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having fun.
Yep.
And, what? Oh.
Ken's just making jokes.
No, who is talking to Caroline? Get out of that TV and go to bed. That's funny. Hope you like that little sound bite. I threw that together a
Pixie
long time
loves
ago.
it.
Yeah,
Pixie loves
she
it.
didn't used to love it, but
Oh.
I think she's grown to love it. She's grown to appreciate it.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So anyway, we are cruising through the night, talking about paranormal encounters tonight. So hope you are enjoying it, and we will continue on our storyline now. But again, we are broadcasting on TFRlive.com, on TuneIn, on iHeart, and we're thrilled if that's where you're finding us and being a part of the show. But you can as well find us on YouTube as we're simulcasting live to YouTube, and you can find us there. And you can see all the magic that makes up the portal. If you go to youtube.com/paranormal portal, and we will see you there, and you will actually see us there if you're there. But if you want to be a part of the show, what does this say? Oh, there was a weird message up on the call-in board. But if you want to call in and be a part of the show, you're always welcome. If you have a story you want to share or an encounter, a testimonial of some kind, feel free to call in 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. Call boards are open. So
Call now.
Call now. But wait, there's more. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. And we'll find you there too.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing that so many people want to hear what we have to say, isn't it?
It's baffling actually, but you know, whatever.
Well, you know, it's an adventure, and God bless you. We love you for doing it. So the next story I want to read to you is the 200-year-old home. Growing up, I would live with my mother during the school year and live with my dad during the summer. I would say when I was maybe 5 or 7 was when my dad ended up meeting my stepmom, and they ended up living together at my stepmom's place. The house that she lived in had been, I guess, owned by their family for 196 years at the time. Wow. It's an old house in rural America. All I knew was that it was old as hell. That's not the words they're using, but that's what I'm going with. The earliest memories I can recall from the first summer I ended up staying there, I just had this eerily feeling over me constantly, and especially during the evening/night, like that of a decaying feeling. The only way I can imagine describing the feeling is that of someone being told after 20 years of what they felt was a happy marriage, suddenly their spouse is divorcing them and it's final. The sadness, hurt, anger, and other emotions that would follow is what I felt in that house, except it wasn't a separation of marriage that caused it, but of death. Something or someone had died in that house long time ago and refused to move on, regardless if time and other factors would move on without it. That's how it felt to me. That's a pretty articulated feeling. Wow.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyways, fast forward a few years later, my stepmom becomes pregnant with my second sister and my dad's first daughter. So in preparation, they end up having an addition put onto the house so they can have their own place and my future babysitter could have her own place. Meanwhile, my stepbrother and I shared a room. I didn't live there year-round, so it made sense. That's when everything started. Excuse me. I just remember when we came back to live in the house after the addition was put in, it was immediately exciting to see the big changes that had been done to the house and see how they were going to set up the room for my future baby sister and all that jazz. The first night back there, I honestly think changed me. I used to before then was a heavy sleeper to the point I would snore and would wake everyone else up before myself. Today, I am such a light sleeper, it's disgusting. I just remember waking up one night and the room was particularly dark, and instantly fear just set over me. Just to give some brief background into info on me at the time, I was probably 5 foot something and weighing hardly 170 pounds. Probably. I was a fatty growing up, laugh out loud. Okay. I had a confidence that at that age made me feel like I was strong and to be reckoned with. Oh God, watch out, world, here comes the fat 7-year-old. He's dangerous, laugh out loud. Gotta love these little ad-libs. Was the first time that I just felt so scared and defenseless, I didn't know what to do. Like something was there, just looming over me in the dark and watching me, wanting to make me feel unwanted there. Over a period of weeks, this feeling would come and go every other night, and was so bothering some nights that I eventually would sprint and end up sleeping on the floor in my dad and stepmom's room. They hated that, laugh out loud. Well, sure enough, a month later, I overhear my dad and my stepmom talking. Come to find out that my dad also has been having sleeping issues as well. He was telling her house he'd just have this feeling come over him like every night of someone standing right in the middle of his torso. A cold feeling that would leave him alone. I don't know, this is written really poorly, so I apologize, but I'm doing my best here. Makes sense why he suddenly started to forget to turn the TV off at night to give some sort of distraction from what he knew, and what I knew our minds would turn to when we would lay down at night. To top it off, my stepbrother at this time began to have an imaginary friend that would play toys with him. My stepmom decided to ask my stepbrother one day about this special friend and wanted to know about him. I guess he was an old black man and knew my stepmom somehow. My stepmom and all of them are black. My dad is on the opposite side of that color spectrum. After trying to figure out who it could possibly be, my stepmom's mother said it could have been an actual person. From the description and other random details, it could have been her mom's grandfather. Cool. I think the eeriest thing about his friend he had too was that he had one particular toy he loved to play with. And conveniently enough, it was some electronics toy that had like a person or a creature in a box, and when you pressed the button, It rumbled and would make noises saying, "Let me out," and "Help." I actually do remember witnessing going off on its own, even without batteries. I think the climax of this for me was one night I remember hearing a toy go off in my sister's room. Oh yeah, they had a baby and she's a couple of months old at this point. And the feeling in my gut, God help me, I thought it was so unique that one, I only woke up and heard this, and two, everyone was dead asleep. I figured I would ignore it and it would eventually stop and I could go back to sleep. Well, it didn't. If I could have guessed the time of which this was going off, it would have to have been at least for 20 some odd minutes of nonstop going off. I would quietly yell to my brother from across the room to see if he was awake. Nothing. So with all the hell it's left in me, I got up and quickly ran into her room, and I started throwing each toy out of that toy chest one after another till I got to the bottom and saw the toy that was making all the racket. When I grabbed it and tried to find its switch to turn it off, it did that thing that would happen in some sort of cliche ghost movie. It turned off. Excuse me. I noped so fast out of that room and went into my bed, and under the covers, there it is, Don.
There it is. Yeah, we need them.
We need those Paranormal Portal covers. I was such a mess. Maybe 10 minutes after that, God, this is a long story, that my baby sister lets out a blood-curdling scream of something I would imagine a person would make if they were having a limb cut off against their will or their life was in danger. Luckily, that woke my parents up, and they ran in there to get her. This is after this happening 3 to 5 nights in a row, like clockwork, they decided to sleep with her in their room. My saving grace was that the summer was finally over and I had to go back to living with my mother for the school year. I guess while I was living with my mother, some more things happened. There to a point, my stepmom ended up asking my stepbrother to tell his friend to go away. He's not welcome here. Apparently that pissed him off, but it ended up agreeing and leaving.
Oh.
Since then, I don't think I've felt anything with that house anymore. Ever since that summer, though, I've never been able to fully get over that. Excuse me. I'm such a light sleeper now, and other than my mother's mom dealing with spiritual things, mysticism in her youth, I can't think of any reason why it happened, particularly to me and my dad. Apparently, my dad had some weird things happen to him growing up, according to my grandma.
Huh.
That was a long story.
It was.
Do you got one, Don?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I've been reading all night. Sorry, I muted myself. I was going to cough, though. But, yeah, please, go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so let's see here. I got this one here. Okay. I lost my mother to breast cancer when I was young. I was the youngest child in my family, and I still lived at home with when my mother passed. My father, a very strong man to his credit, took over the maternal role in my life. Knowing I had his unconditional love during this period of my life helped me adjust to my mother's death. For years after this, I naively felt that since I had survived my mother's death at a young age, that when my father passed, it would be easier for me to deal with. Many years later, my father took ill and slowly went downhill. My family had a hospital bed placed in his bedroom because his wish was to die at home. One evening, I stood at my father's side and held his hand. After months of struggling and suffering, I watched as he drifted in and out of consciousness. Knowing he was a fighter and would continue to struggle, I summoned the strength within myself to reassure my father that everyone in the family was fine and that we'd be okay, and it'd be okay for him to let go. The following morning around 3 a.m., I received a call from my stepmom informing me that my father had passed. I spent the next hour calling my siblings. By the time I got off the phone, I was numb. I laid down knowing I would need to rest for the following days. I stared at the ceiling, trying to keep my thoughts on joyous times that I had spent with my father. I turned on my side and flung my arm out to the edge of the bed. From the time when I was little, I always loved my father's large, strong hands. They brushed my hair and put it up in ponytails. They built my favorite bookshelves. They cooked the best meals I could ever have eaten. Now, I was stunned to see these familiar hands reach out and take my hand. I felt my father's hand squeeze mine and then slowly faded away. a great sense of peace came over me, and I was able to fall asleep. That's cool.
Yes, it is.
That's
Sorry.
cool. He's clearing his throat again, peoples.
I'm just real froggy. I've just been reading nonstop all night, and I was realizing, wait, Don hasn't read anything.
Well, that's all right. Well, no, that was a great story. Yeah,
It was very cool. So, the next one I'm going to read to you, if I can get through it without clearing my throat, which I'm betting I won't. So I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, because I know it's an awkward sound, but I got to be able to breathe and speak. So. It's just I don't talk much during the whole day, here and there to my wife and, here and there to my little boy, of course. But most of the time I'm just watching him play and, doing my own thing up here in the studio, getting ready for the show. But then after not talking for so long and then getting up here and talking nonstop, it's like, So I do apologize. Sorry. The hand in my grandma's guest room. Ooh, that sounds like your story, Don. Sounds like your encounters, but let's read and see what this one's all about. Sorry, excuse me. Let me take a drink quick. Wet the whistle. That's Don whistling, not me. Excuse me. Wow. The most terrifying paranormal experience I've had would have to be the experiences I had in my grandma's guest room. When I was young, I remember staying in that room, and every time I would wake up in the middle of the night to the sensation of someone... What? We already read this one. Someone or something running their fingers up my spine.
Oh,
Does this not sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one's done. That one's over.
Skip.
Why did they put it twice? That's weird.
Well, because they needed one extra one.
Am I on two different threads here?
26.
No, that's different. Yeah, that's on the same thread twice. Wow. I can't read the title of this one, but I'll read to you the story. I just try to keep the show family friendly, and I don't fly the Effenheimers. So there's one of those in the title. So my first apartment was haunted as heck. And that's where we'll go with here. Just checking. I thought I felt my phone vibrate. I have no other explanation. It was just a little one with 4 bedrooms and a living room and kitchen in the middle, intended for college kids to live in. It was a bit off campus and right next to a gigantic cemetery, which is why I think it had the activity that it did. There were 2 main ghosts, if you want to call them that, and as far as I can tell, we ended up just referring to them as masculine and feminine. The main event that kicked off the activity was one night we were all hanging in our rooms, most of the doors closed, and I remember hearing what sounded like 2 people talking. One voice was light and feminine, and the other one was lower and much more masculine, coming from the main area/kitchen. They had a long conversation from the way it sounded. At first, I thought it was a roommate and a girl he brought over, but after a while I realized it wasn't anything like his voice. I opened the door, and that was when the talking stopped mid-sentence. Not long after, my roommate came from his door across the hall, and he said he heard it too. And we just kind of looked at each other for a little bit and decided to go for a walk because it was just creepy. This event set off a chain reaction of weird things. God bless it. Another night, it sounded like something punched the wall as hard as it could in the kitchen after some jumbled speaking. Literally, blah, blah, bam. It reverberated around the whole kitchen. Scared the hell out of all of us because we were just about to sleep. You would hear the talking from another room on occasion, just weird mumbles and the like. Sometimes there would be more than one voice. You have to wonder if this is like one of those murder-suicide places, But anyway, I'll keep reading. You would always see shadows moving on the periphery of your vision. More than once, saw full-form figures. My friend at this time and roommate moved out after he saw something dark and human-shaped in his Skype window through his webcam standing in his doorway. A short while before I left, once Or I guess that was a short while before I left. Once there was one just standing in a friend's room while he was away. I just ignored it and went into my room and locked the door. I think I had some shock going on. You felt like you were being watched quite often. Footsteps all the time, ranging from hard to soft. One time it was I was up around 9 o'clock and I kept hearing someone walking on the grass outside the building back and forth while the window was open. That unmistakable swish, swish, swish of shoes on grass. At first I thought it was just another tenant, but after a while I looked and there was no one there. And yet I could still hear someone walking back and forth along the side of the building. What made it even more freaky was I was the only one living there at the time, and the units were mostly empty because it was summer. That's horrible. My friend had a baking sheet thrown at him. It flew from the top of the fridge where we kept our pans right at his head while cooking. This happened after he was trying to communicate and was taunting the ghost.
Oh, there we go again. Yeah.
Again, don't taunt them. Just a word to the wise. It wasn't uncommon to have things like keys, cups, etc. knocked off the counters or having these things moved to a different spot than where you had left it. But the greatest and freakiest was the first Christmas of the 2 years I lived there. I had gone home for a break, and we had all left around the same time. We had locked the place up as we had left and turned all the lights off and latched everything. While at home, there was this video card that I had left in my apartment that my friend was wanting to take a look at. We thought we could fix it for him, so we drove the hour-long drive back to my apartment to pick it up. When we got there, the place had the worst feeling I had ever experienced. Just felt oppression walking into the place. All the lights were on and my friend's computer was playing a movie.
Nice.
That part freaked me out the most because he had locked the door to his room and had shut his computer off while he had this stupid long password. Thinking that someone had broke in, I grabbed a knife and we cleared room to room. I had to jimmy open my friend's room and that had the computer playing the movie, but there was no one there. No sign of forced entry. All the windows were locked. Wanting to get the hell out of there, I just chalked it up to the weird apartment, and we decided to both use the bathroom and get the hell out with the video card. As I'm looking for the card, my friend just shouts, holy cow. I'll say holy cow.
Okay.
Holy cow, from the bathroom, and comes out pure white, pants still unbuttoned. He says while he was peeing, something whispered in his ear from the shower. He couldn't make out what it was saying, but it was a feminine voice. He never believed me when I told him the place was weird. He didn't doubt me after that, and it took him a long time before he would come visit me again at that apartment. Finally, all the weird things came to a head, and it would go through phases where things were relatively quiet for a while to completely crazy for a month. This particular cycle was pretty bad, and my friend's roommate, was really being bothered. He went to the landlady to complain and maybe get us out of our contract, but she said, and I quote, "Oh, don't worry, we've had a lot of complaints about that in the past, but no one's ever gotten hurt."
Oh, really?
How about psychologically? I was and still am an atheist. I despise religion, but that situation really forced me to change my mind on ghosts and the afterlife. I really felt like at times something was trying to talk to us, and at times something was just trying to troll us. It really messed with my friend. He had a personality change and became quite a jerk. I don't talk to him and kind of hate him, but but I think a lot of that came out from this apartment we were at, and the effects it had on him mentally. As lame as TV shows make it out to be, I really got into ghost hunting, already a passing hobby, and had some crazy experiences but because of this. I think it's something that we just can't prove yet. Death is something beyond what we can quantify to the best of our abilities. For anyone that asks, we had a CO detector, never alarmed us to any problem. Not sure about infrasound, but I doubt it. Huh. Okay.
Well, and you just happen to say, well, what about, mental, damage? And then it went on to say that this guy had a personality change, a major personality change.
That sounds like an attachment to me is what it sounds like. Like the thing targeted him and wore him down and basically
Drove him nuts.
drove him batty and probably became part of him. You know,
jeez.
I mean, it's not quite the same as possession, but it's kind of like, you know, the whole walk-in theory,
Right.
right? So it's kind of like that, like something else just kind of walks in, doesn't necessarily take over, but can definitely change your attitude about a lot of things and make you all kinds of creepy. But yeah, that's a strange story and very weird. The face in the glass door. My 2-year-old was really sick and throwing up every half hour one night, so I stayed up with her so I could keep an eye on her. We were sitting on the couch in the family room around 11 p.m., and I was watching TV, and she had dozed off in my lap. I thought about getting up to close the blinds on the glass double doors that led into the backyard, but I didn't want to disturb my daughter. It was kind of staring off, lost in my own thoughts, when I realized I was actually staring at something odd. It looked like a face was peering back at me through the glass door. My heart started to race as I snapped to attention and realized to my horror that there was a face staring back at me. It looked like a man's face, but because it was so dark out, it was hard to make out any features. Oh my God. Well, I'm going to finish
time.
this when we get back. That came so quickly, but we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for the last half hour of the show.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder.
No hype. No fear.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the last half hour of our show. Wow, that break came out of nowhere. Totally stunned me and sent me for a loop, as it were. But we're back, and we are just burning through the clock. It's amazing how absolutely quick it goes. Excuse me. Okay. Thank you for your participation, Don.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, anytime, huh? And we are going through, I didn't get through that last story at all. I'm sorry about that. But what's going on in the setup? We're doing shows about paranormal encounters with the dead, which is otherwise known as ghost encounters, but it sounded cooler to say it that way. So I did. It's all about the marketing, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about how you spin it. So, but we were just going through the story of a gentleman who had a sick 2-year-old in his lap, and she had fallen asleep, and he was just kind of gazing out his double glass doors, heading to the outside, and he's staring into nothingness, and then realizes he's not looking at nothing. In fact, there's a face looking back at him. So let's get to that. So this is where we left the story before break. My heart started to race as I snapped to attention and realized to my horror that there was a face staring back at me. It looked like a man's face, but because it was so dark out, it was hard to make out any features. The face didn't move, but it looked like he or it had a small, creepy smile. The eyes also looked slightly red, not glowing red, but like swollen. I didn't see a body, just the face. Also, it was kind of low, as if he were crouched down. Oh, God, that's so many kinds of creepy. I didn't know what to do. I was frozen with fear. I glanced to the TV and pretended to just be watching it as I thought up a plan. I briefly glanced back at the face, and it was gone. This scared me more than if it had actually still been there. Eventually, I began to relax, though, and started to convince myself that it was just some sort of illusion brought on by exhaustion and the way the lights in the room reflected against the glass. About 15 minutes later, I glanced at the glass doors again and saw something that made my blood run cold. Something was hanging off the side of the door. It was on the outside of the door, and it looked like some huge shadowy man/monkey/thing was hanging there by an arm and gently swinging to and fro like a kid would swing on the stall doors in a public bathroom. We used to swing on the bathroom stall doors as a kid, so this is the only way I could describe it. But what really scared me was the weird smile and the red swollen eyes on the thing's head. I didn't care if this was an illusion. I was done. That was it for me. I bundled up my daughter in my arms and fled the house. I had gone over to a neighbor's, and her husband offered to check my house. He said he didn't find anything when he returned, something I figured would happen. I never saw anything like that again, but I did hear weird noises in my bedroom that night. Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just all kinds of creepy.
It's a rake.
A rake, yeah.
It's
well,
a rake.
You know, definitely is it seems to be definitely spiritual, is what I would chalk it up as. I don't know. I mean, it could be physical, but
Why is it just a one shot though?
I don't know. As I've said before, I really believe that there are transient spirits all over the place, right? And they're just kind of wandering around doing their own thing. And perhaps they just see a house and just kind of go, wonder what's going on in there. And so they just glare through the doors and try to get a quick rise out of people, like they're bored maybe. I don't know. It's just very strange, right?
Great. Yeah, now we got paranormals pulling practicals. Yeah.
Well, in many cases they were human beings at one time as well. In many cases,
True.
And so if human beings can be idiots and bastards and stuff, then
you suppose they can be too.
They can be too. Yeah. I mean, if they were once human, and even if they weren't, what's to say they wouldn't have the same kind of boredom issues that we have and just decide, you know what, screw those guys. Let's see what they like this,
How's this? How do you like my red-rimmed, creepy eyes?
My red-rimmed, creepy, swollen eyes and my weird, wicked smile. Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank you real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because apparently somebody clipped the claws on this cat.
Yes, we did. We have trimmed the nails.
For 5 minutes now.
And not one yelp of pain?
No.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
That's true.
there was a yelp of, oh my God, I scared me there.
That initial fear, like, oh God, here it comes, and then it wasn't as bad as you thought.
Well, no,
Oh.
because it happened right when you started reading about the face in the I was like, holy, oh, no, it's okay.
Anubis is
It's
a little
just Anubis,
bastard.
yeah.
He's like, oh, they're reading ghost stories. What's this? No, we actually, the missus did that. She trimmed the claws. And,
That's nice. Thank her.
It really
I
is.
will-
And I'm telling you, I was sitting up here in
Ow.
the studio, and he came up. And
He's just going at it.
do you just like rub your socks in
I'm
cheese
not
before you get
doing
over here? Or
anything.
what?
I'm just sitting here.
Don's tuna socks. The cat will love me now. Yeah, but I don't know. I just, like I was saying though, he actually was under the desk and he jumped up and nailed his head on the desk.
Oh, nice.
But he managed to grab a hold of both sides of my thighs with his deep claws and hung on there and tried to pull himself up. And I'm like, "Grr." So it was after that he met the claw trimming.
Oh, jeez.
It was not his fault. I know that, but it was a situation that I definitely didn't want to repeat.
Yes.
Because there's, the Ted Nugent cat scratch fever.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Pixie. Thanks, Pix. I don't want any of that.
What is this?
She just sent me this. Let's see, the bizarre press this bizarre kitty lamps gold. Right here.
Oh, nice. That's kind of looks like Anubis, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, glowing eyes and all. Thank
Yeah.
you, Pix. Yes. Gotta love that gal.
She makes every night fun and interesting. But the next story is the mask at the funeral home.
Oh, jeez.
We own a house in Indiana that used to be a funeral home decades ago. My wife lives there. I'm in New York, but we visit occasionally. And I was laying in bed, and I remember being woken by a turn signal colored amber light in my eyes. That didn't make sense, and I rolled over onto my back. It was then that a face appeared through the door of the bedroom in the same amber hue as the light that woke me. Best I could describe it was a tiki mask. I grabbed my wife's arm and really hard, and she yelped. The face turned the slightest bit towards her and then back through the door. She asked why I woke her, and after I explained, she said, "Yeah, just tell it to leave you alone, and it stops." Apparently, it's fairly common.
Happens to me all the time. Will you just stop it?
Just, might want to mention that before bed. I don't know.
washing my
Glad
hair.
you're here, honey. By the way, if the tiki mask comes, tell it to go away.
Just tell it to go away.
But there you go again. There again, it's that whole idea of you claim your space.
Yeah.
Most times, 90%, 95% of the time, the problem will go away too, because a lot of times these things just want to be acknowledged. So acknowledging them is enough, and just say, hey, you know what? I appreciate you're here, as long as you're peaceful and loving. But
just stand in the corner for me, would you?
yeah, just stand.
Go haunt that corner.
Yeah, exactly. Or get them a job at a tiki bar. Or
Yeah, there
something.
you go. Yeah, go scare them. Put your mask on.
Don's luau pit. There's always a pig on the spit. Sorry. That was kind of a Popeye. Kind of. That's the portal, ladies and gentlemen. You just never know what you're going to get. What'd you get him? Yeah.
Ow, now he's biting me. Look, he's biting me.
He's like, come on.
Oh, now he's licking me. Oh, I was like, I'm sorry.
It was just a love nipple. Or nibble,
Ow,
sorry.
there, see,
not
he's-
nipple.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
not, no, those aren't love bites.
Yeah, they're hard?
Oh, now he's licking me again.
Oh, okay. He's like, sorry.
I must taste good. I must have a good rub on because he's just gnawing and licking and gnawing like me on a bone.
Okay.
Okay, notice. Bye-bye.
Peaches in the Cellar is the next one. All right. As a kid, we played in the basement a lot. The floor was open and cement, so we could roller skate around. Also, the walls were either dirt or brick, so we were allowed to shoot BB guns at targets.
Great.
Basically, I wasn't scared of the basement at all as a kid. One day, my sister was in the side room that had jars of peaches and pickles. Dirt cellar type of room, stayed cold even in the summer. She wouldn't let me in, and I was sure she was eating peaches. I could just see her feet under the crack of the door, and I stuck my fingers under, and she messed around with my fingers and giggled. I felt that her fingers were wet, and I said, "Don't eat all the peaches. I want some." Then she pushed down on my fingers so hard, and it hurt, and she was grunting and basically freaking out. I started screaming and tugging. Finally, I pulled my hand back, and she was quiet for a moment before she hauled off and kicked the door really hard. I ran upstairs to tell on her, and there she was with my mom in the kitchen.
Oh.
It was, yeah, pretty creepy. No one believed me. In fact, my mom just said my imagination had gotten away from me and to forget about it.
Is that a doppelganger story right there?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think he ever actually saw. He just saw the figure in there and figured that she was eating all the peaches. Wow. That's a horrible thing. I can't imagine what would you think after that?
Well, could you imagine you go down there and it's got this thing in its face and it's like, nah, nah, nah. And then what if it did this? I'd be like, oh.
I'm sorry, I don't have your camera up.
Well,
so.
you should have saw the
Okay,
camera,
do it
but-
again.
Well, it was done.
I'm so glad that this is recorded.
I know.
That'll be on YouTube forever, just so you know. I think I'd rather see the kid's face than that again. That was just all kinds of weird.
Well, I need red swollen eyes.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be.
Oh my God, that'd be creepy though.
That would be horrible. You see this child in there, you swear it's your sister. Hey, get out of there. What are you doing? Quit eating all the peaches. Tickles your hands and giggles. And then all of a sudden just starts jamming on your hands and you pull them out and it kicks the door open and
get out.
He runs upstairs and she's there. Oh, that's horrible. That's creepy. But,
Can we get an instant replay? No.
Done. You sure you want one? I'm still seeing that in my head. I can't unsee that.
Oh, well, I just scared myself too
No,
because I
it's
watched
cute.
it. I'm like, oh.
It was pretty hilarious. Look, I got to give you props for that.
Oh, thank you.
His mother lied. I was about 11. I woke up in the middle of the night and sat straight up immediately for whatever reason. I remember the sound that I heard that woke me up was like shuffling on carpet. Anyway, I sat straight up, and at the end of my bed, a man was standing there. He wasn't facing me. He was staring at the bookshelf on the wall parallel to my bed. I just stared at him. He slowly turned to face me. That's such a creepy thought. Just a slow turn. Leaned forward and got what I remember being like a foot away from my face and just scowled the most evil-looking scowl to this day that I've ever seen. His eyes were like hot coals. I described it at the time by saying he had fire in his eyes. So, as he was standing there, staring at me with those embers for eyes, poof, he just disappeared. So this is where the weirder stuff starts to happen. I remember laying down, trying to get back to sleep and telling myself, I didn't see that, it was a dream, before getting overwhelmed. I walked across the hall to my parents' bedroom and told my mom I had a nightmare, so my dad went to sleep in my room. I tried to fall back asleep, but couldn't stop staring at the door, and then I broke down and freaked out and told her what I saw. She said I was so frightened and my heart was beating so fast, she was afraid I'd have a stroke or something. Fast forward about 5 years, and I was an angsty teenage atheist and used my experience as proof of how real dreams can seem, until my dad pops up, you should ask your mother what she saw. I was confused. I'd been convinced it was just a waking dream for years now. Turns out a couple months before I saw him, my mom woke up and saw the same man I described standing next to the ironing board. When I told her he had fire in his eyes, I described his face. She knew it was the same man. She also thought it was a dream and never told me because I'd be too afraid to stay in the house. Everything I remember after seeing the man was not correct. I didn't lay back down and calmly walk into my parents' room. I reacted hysterically and ran into their room screaming, "There's a man in my room," causing my dad to jump up and search everywhere for this guy who, of course, he couldn't find. I remember sleeping in the room again after a couple of months. Parents and sisters say I never slept in that room again. I wouldn't even go in there. I was so excruciatingly terrified that my memories changed to make it seem like I wasn't that frightened. I guess I never saw him again after that night, but before I saw him, I would always feel afraid. My parents' bathroom always gave me the creeps, and I couldn't explain it. I found out years later that he died in their room.
Oh.
I guess it sounds kind of stupid compared to other stories here, but it was pretty traumatic. We lived in the house for 2 more years, and I do remember times when I had to walk past my bedroom. I'd pause and then sprint. I will try to draw a sketch of what I remember him looking like. I'm 27 now, but I still can see it vividly. Yeah, that's horrible.
That's crazy.
Just that slow turn. That's I think the creepiest part. He turned his head slowly, like, "Oh, you? I see you're awake."
Well, at least his head turned and didn't just swivel.
Yeah, well,
I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's just all kinds of horrible. But and why the eyes glowed like coal? I guess because he was angry.
Kind of mad.
Yeah, apparently. But let's see, 10 minutes. Yeah, we got a couple more here. All right, the house on the reservation. I would stay with my grandma on occasion, who lived back in the woods on a tiny wooden house. We're Native American and live on the reservation. I remember a specific night where there was knocking on the front door to the house. We were both laying in bed, and when we heard it, I pointed it out to her, and she told me to hush and be quiet. The knocking continued a few times, and if I tried asking her who it was, she wouldn't tell me. I never got an explanation as to why either. There were other incidents where I remember laying in that bed and hearing whistling and loud footsteps running around the house. My weirdest memory though is one where I was about 5 or 6, and I remember my grandma talking to my parents in the living room, and I walked back to her bedroom and came face to face with an Indian girl, her face painted black and her body in full regalia. That looked nothing like this time. She was in all sorts of furs, and I remembered being punched in the gut with fear looking in her eyes. She told me to shush and be quiet, and as I looked from her to my parents, who were within sight of me to my left through the door, she was crouched down in front of me, trying to tell me something. I can't remember what it was or what even happened after that point. I just remember seeing her face and feelings that came with it. I have plenty of other great memories from my grandma's house. I wasn't afraid of her house, so to speak, because I didn't realize it was weird until I got older. There are stories about my own house as well. I used to wake up to small footsteps running up and down the hall, as well as the sound of someone sprinting away on the pavement outside my window. I have woken up to shadow-like creatures in front of my face and kneeling next to my bed, only to have them disappear around the corners and out of sight. Any time these things happened, I just remember asking other people what they thought, and my stories weren't uncommon. These things happen all the time on the reservation, apparently. I have plenty of other great memories at my grandma's house, and I wasn't afraid of her house, so to speak. Why is it repeating that? It just repeated that whole paragraph. Yeah, but that's a cool story.
Driving the point home.
Yeah, I guess so. Or they have typing Tourette's. I'm just gonna repeat this. So the old spy base is next. We got 7 minutes. God, this night's going fast on. I'm sorry. Would you like to read another one?
Oh no, keep going. I'm enjoying.
Okay.
You've got some good ones over there.
Yeah, these are some great stories. I'm really liking these. all of the work being a paranormal researcher. I used to live at the Royal Air Force Base. Live at Royal Air Force Chicksands in England during my junior and senior year of high school. I'm an American, by the way. My father was an officer, and my girlfriend's father was enlisted, which meant we lived on opposite sides of the base. A stream ran through the center of the base, and on one side was a walking path, which I could take to her house, and on the other side was the softball field. Adjacent to the path side was an old priory, nunnery. A beautiful building, really, surrounded by mountainous hedges and meticulously maintained. However, it had been empty for decades. Why? Excuse me. Well, when I would walk to my girlfriend's house at night, I always had a eerie feeling when I was near the priory on the path. Or on the path, sorry. Jeez. On the night I was walking on the path right next to the priory, when I saw a glow in the upper left-hand corner of the second story of the priory. It appeared to be the form of a woman in a white slip or robe, but I shook it off and convinced myself that I was imagining it. That was until it happened almost every night on the path, same spot, same apparition. I told my girlfriend about it, and she basically just laughed it off, saying that I must have smoked too much hash. I had not.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. Then something else began to happen on the path. I began to see another apparition, this time a male in black. Only he was headless. This scared the hell out of me, but again I shook it off until it happened again and again and again. By the third time he was walking and I saw him, he was up in the window as well, and she seemed to be watching him. It was a very lonely feeling, and I was beginning to have an anxiety attack near the hedges. That was usually where he would disappear. I spoke with the lady once, and she began to start thinking that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't crazy or stoned. I spoke with my lady once. I don't know what that means, but that gave me the confidence to begin asking some adults if they had heard any stories about the priory and its grounds. Well, it turns out the priest had overseen the priory many hundreds of years before, and he and a young nun in training had had a love affair resulting in her pregnancy. Incredibly big, no, especially for the time. Once the church had found out about the sordid details, they sentenced them both to death.
Oh.
His death was to be beheaded, with his head thrown into the creek. He had a quick death. Unfortunately, Rosetta did not have it so easy. While alive and pregnant, she was burned into the wall of the priory and left to die, baby in utero.
Ew.
Oh, it's horrible. The first year I lived on the base, they opened the priory as a haunted house for kids, and I recall seeing a window on the outside of the building. It was gorgeous. You couldn't miss the details. But then when I went inside, there was no window. There was the wall in which Rosetta, with child, had been buried and left to die. It says buried, but I think they meant burned. She would walk amongst her dead lovers' corridors where they had made love at night, and he would walk the creek searching for his severed head.
Wow.
Yeah, that's almost, I don't know, it's almost like a Halloween-y kind of story, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
It's just so legendary and dripping with,
Yeah.
the old Halloween yarn.
Right.
I don't know.
The Ichabod Crane kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I don't see why they would burn. And
Well,
that was starting to sound like Freddy Krueger there for a minute.
That's true. That's a good point. And granted, I can't speak to the authenticity of any of these stories, but they are interesting. I think that several of them could very well be valid. And I think that ones like that one, they just sound like they're just too folky sounding. I don't know. I mean, maybe this did happen. Maybe this is, maybe those old yarns are there because those things did happen or somebody did experience them. But it just seems almost like that whole romanticized version of a forbidden love. And,
right. I don't think anybody would do something like that. They would kick him out of they'd certainly kick him out and banish him. But
I think hundreds of years ago, though, that was also a blasphemy against the church. And so it might have, having that kind of thing happen might have been considered a taint on the holy name of the church. And so unfortunately, history is just dotted and blotted with, those kind of things happening in the name of God. And,
right.
It's really tragic
Their
and
own
really
little
stupid.
blasphemies, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I don't believe it's not possible, but I think it's just that whole story just sounds too Halloween-y for me.
Right.
But then again, I can't pretend to know. Just a theory. Just a Tug on the Sheets is next. Oh, we only have 2 minutes left.
Oh, goodness. The night's over.
There's no time for another one, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the way we roll on the portal here. But again, thank you all so very much for being here and being a part of this. I sincerely and honestly want you to know I love you all, and I can't thank you enough for doing this and coming back time after time and being so supportive. So thank you all. And again, we will maybe be back on Wednesday. It's Valentine's Day, so we're kind of tossing it around, but if we will stream at 7 o'clock on Wednesday if we're going to do it, but it may very well be Tuesday if we can wing it. I'm not sure if we can or not. Don and I have to discuss, but definitely check us out next Friday and Saturday, if not Wednesday. I will post it on the facebook.com/paranormal portal radio, what we decide we're going to do well ahead of time so you'll know. But, stick around for Jimmy Jean Into the Microcosm coming up next. It's always an eclectic journey into his world. It's always an amazing journey. So don't miss that if you're listening on iHeart, TuneIn, or TFR Live. And please, if you're hearing the sound of my voice and you haven't already, go to our youtube.com/paranormal portal and subscribe and like these videos.
Hit that bell.
Hit that bell, and you'll be notified whenever we do anything else, theoretically. Again, I don't know. Some people are claiming that isn't working, and I don't know why, but just so you know. But we are out there, and love you all a bunch. Be good, be kind, be gentle and nice to each other, and we'll be back again soon for more of this Paranormal Portal. Have a great night, everybody. And Don?
Good night. Good night.
It's your last chance. I'm just saying. All right. You guys take care. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Ella.